What's up? So today I'm going to be reviewing two vintage YA books. I got both of them for free from the town hall. Right now I'm living in a really small town in Oklahoma, and they have a town hall with like a bunch of free books in there, and every single book in there is genuinely older than me. Like, it's crazy. So I picked out a couple. This is the first book I picked out, A Summer to Die by Lois Lowry. I'm definitely the type to judge a book by its cover, because I totally did choose it for this cover. I love the old-fashioned cover art. Like, they need to bring this back. I don't know what style this is called, but I really like it. So this was, checking the inside cover, originally published in 1977. This copy, it says, was printed in October 1993. So this is genuinely older than me by like 10 years. And look, it's still in pretty good condition, I think, because it's a hardcover. Like, yeah, it has a little piece of tape here, and on the inside, it has like a strip of tape, but other than that, there's no pages missing. There's really no huge stains on the pages. The pages are just a little bit yellowed, but I kind of love that look, and also it has a nice like dusty library smell to it, which I always love. So overall, in pretty good condition. I love this cover especially because in the book they talk about the patchwork quilt that their mom made. This is the younger sister. They describe her with glasses, and she gets really into photography, so she has a camera. The older sister has blonde hair. It's just like, I love all the details they put into this cover that like really match what it says in the story about the characters and like the setting. So if you don't know, Lois Lowry is the same author that wrote The Giver and Number the Stars, both of which I read in like 4th grade or so. Number the Stars, like, that one had an impact on me. So I had no idea that this was the same author until I looked it up after I finished the book, so that makes a lot of sense. I feel like she definitely deals with a lot of like dystopian and just like kind of really bittersweet themes. This isn't dystopian, but it definitely is bittersweet. So I'll read the back really quick. Meg isn't thrilled when she gets stuck sharing a bedroom with her older sister, Molly. The two of them couldn't be more different, and it's hard for Meg to hide her resentment of Molly's beauty and easy popularity. But now that the family has moved to a small house in the country, Meg has a lot to accept. Just as the sisters begin to adjust to their new home, Meg feels that Molly is starting up again by being a real nuisance. But Molly's constant grouchiness, changing appearance, and other complaints are not just a part of a new mood. And the day Molly is rushed to the hospital, Meg has to accept there's something terribly wrong with her sister. That's the day Meg's world changes forever. Is it too late for Meg to show what she really feels? So, based off of this cover and the back, and like the title, A Summer to Die, I thought this was going to be kind of like a R.L. Stine sort of like campy, like spooky summer adventure, but it actually wasn't. It was a lot more serious than that, which was kind of a surprise, but also it wasn't an unpleasant surprise. Genuinely, okay, I'm going to spoiler alert, but this sister has cancer and she dies at the end, and usually I stay away from like any sort of themes of that because I really can't deal with that, and it makes me really sad. But this one, it did make me sad, but also it had a really sweet ending and themes of kind of like found family, being able to overcome grief with the right people around you and the right passions. And so I'm glad I read it. If I had known what it was about, I don't think I would have picked it up, but I'm glad that I did. I wanted to read a quote from page 14, which I thought was really cute. I think that when Mom looks at Molly, her memories go back farther, to her own self as a girl, because they are so alike, and it must be a puzzling thing to see yourself growing up again. I've never really thought about it like that. I've never thought about raising a child in that way, like seeing yourself growing up again, but I genuinely think that's a beautiful sentiment. A lot is packed in here for a YA book, so I kind of love things like that, and I feel like Lois Lowry does that really well in all of her other books as well. So I'd give this 4 out of 5 stars. I'd give it 1 star off just because I wasn't expecting it to be the way it was, but I do think it was a great story. So that is A Summer to Die by Lois Lowry. So the second book I got is The Headless Cupid by Zilpha Keatley Snyder. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This one used to be a library book, which I can tell from, it says El Dorado Library Public Schools, and then it has like one of these little like card slots inside, which is very old-fashioned. This one is even older than the last. So it was originally published in 1971 but this specific copy is printed in October 1985, which is crazy. This is from the 80s, so it's definitely in worse condition. It also is a, not a hardcover, so that explains why it's kind of falling apart a little more. Plus it's like 10 years older than the other one. But overall, like, it's still readable. There's nothing hugely missing, I guess, except this was the one thing. The last page is like half torn on the top, so I was like really pissed because I was like, damn, like, what am I missing? It's the last page too. Like, really, out of all pages, that's like the worst page to have like a chunk missing out of it. But it was okay. I kind of like pieced two and two together, and I got the overall meaning of it, so it was really fine. It wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, as you can see, there's like tape all down the sides. Nobody's written in either of these books, which I'm kind of surprised about, because I feel like when you put a book in a library, like, a kid is bound to like scribble on it or underline something, but nothing's underlined, so maybe they were stricter about that back then, I don't know. So anyway, I picked up this book because, again, I wanted that good R.L. Stine feel, and this had it. This was like if the Penderwicks was mixed with the Goosebumps series. Perfect. Those are like two of my favorite series growing up, so I really enjoyed this book. For me, this is 5 out of 5 stars for sure. Let me read the blurb. When the 4 Stanley children meet Amanda, their new stepsister, they're amazed to learn that she studies witchcraft. They're stunned to see her dressed in a strange costume, carrying a pet crow and surrounded by a pile of books about the supernatural. It's not long before Amanda promises to give witchcraft lessons for David, Janie, and the twins. But that's when strange things start happening in their old house. David suspects Amanda of causing mischief until they learn that the house really was haunted a long time ago. Legend has it that a ghost cut the head off a wooden cupid on the stairway. Has the ghost returned to strike again? Both of these books revolve around themes of families moving to new houses out in the countryside, and the houses are very old, kind of rambly, a little bit haunted seeming. This one definitely, the last book a little bit less so, but still, I have always loved that trope of like a family moving out to the countryside to a big old house and then going on whatever adventures they have there. There was like a ton of like witchcraft and occult stuff in this, which I loved. It was kind of like dulled down a little bit to be more for like a younger audience, but it still checked all the boxes. Like, she had a pet crow. Like, come on, that's like a childhood dream of mine. Also, you can see on the back then, it says this book cost $3.99. Like, that is crazy, because nowadays this would probably be like 10 or 15 bucks, something like that. So you can just see how much it's gone up in price since the 80s. They did have the addition of one character that was like a younger boy, maybe toddler age, like I'm not really sure what age. But he was like very sensitive, kind of had a bit of a sixth sense, and knew things that the adults don't. And I love when books have themes of that, like the kid being the one who's more sensitive to what's going on around them as opposed to the adults, and like he understands things that they can't. So I loved that addition. He was probably my favorite character. His name was Blair. He was really cute. This book kind of ended on a cliffhanger, so I like that as well. I love when a book ends on a cliffhanger and you kind of just have to like figure it out in your own head. I think if I ever wrote a book, I would kind of leave it a bit open-ended, because I don't love when a book closes things like so exactly that it doesn't leave any room for your imagination, and this definitely does, so I like that. Yeah, both books touch on themes of found family as well. Sometimes your family can be like a mismatched patchwork of different strange people, but it all works out for the best, which I really like, because honestly that's kind of related to my own life, I feel like. I think that's a good theme for kids to grow up knowing about, that like your family, it doesn't always have to be like the exact one you're born into. You kind of make it as you get older, which I really like. And of course, family is not without its trials and tribulations, which these books touch on a lot. I personally found Amanda, this is supposed to be Amanda, the witchy girl, like extremely annoying. It definitely captured how an 11-year-old would act if they were insecure and going through a hard time. So like, it's understandable why she was acting that way, but it was still like so realistic that I was like, oh my god. I also love the cover art to this. It's kind of like the same art style as the last one. I don't know what it's called, I'm gonna have to research that, but there's like the headless cupid. It was cut off a banister basically, kind of like that one, which was like just a really random cool touch. I wonder how she came up with that. And then him and his little, that's the main character, his flannel robe. When I was younger, I always wanted to move out of the city into like a creepy old country house, so I was living vicariously through this because this was a lot of fun for me. That is the review of these two books. The Town Hall has a ton of other ones, and like, okay, this is crazy. So, you know how Stranger Things just came out the last season, and like A Wrinkle in Time was like a huge hiccup. Well, while I was looking through books in the Town Hall, I found the cover, the same cover that Holly has in Stranger Things. I didn't realize it was like super rare, so I like looked it up online to be like, oh, maybe I can order, you know, a book like this at some point for myself, because I do have to return these. And genuinely all of them are like being sold for like $100 on eBay, which is crazy. So I could make hella money off of that, except I would feel guilty because I'm supposed to return them, and I wouldn't return it if I sold it, so I can't do it. But yeah, it was really cool to see that cover. I was not expecting that. So anyway, that is all. Thanks for watching. Bye.